It started with a dress, a red one, silky and smooth, tucked away in Jasmine's closet for over a year. She pulled it out with a grin as we got ready for her company's annual gala. "You should wear this," she said, holding it up to my body. "It hugs in all the right places." I raised an eyebrow. "You love this dress. Weren't you saving it for something?" She laughed, casual and warm, the way only she could be. "Please, I'm engaged now. I'm not trying to turn heads anymore. Besides, it'll look better on you." I looked at her, then at the dress. It shimmered in the light like temptation itself. "I don't know." "Oh, come on," she said, tossing it to me. "Live a little." And I did. That night, I slipped into the red silk, felt it cling to my curves like a secret. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. It was bold, daring, like I'd borrowed someone else's confidence. The gala was loud, bright, filled with champagne and fake smiles. I stayed near the back, sipping slowly, watching Jasmine glow in her element, charming her boss, laughing with the interns, brushing shoulders with half the room. That's when I saw him dot Ethan, her fiancé. I'd only met him twice, briefly, politely, the kind of interactions where your smile is stiff and the words are forgettable. But now, with a drink in his hand and his eyes scanning the crowd, he looked different. He was dressed in a charcoal suit, no tie, shirt open just enough to look effortless. His hair was slightly messy, as if he hadn't tried too hard, which only made him more striking. He looked like the kind of man who never had to fight for attention. I found him. Then he saw me, and he didn't look away. I shifted, unsure if he was even recognizing me, but his gaze held mine, steady, slow. And then just slightly, he smiled, not a polite smile, a knowing one. I turned away. Later, I found myself alone on the balcony, the night air cooling the heat I hadn't realized was building in my chest. I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't turn. "Nice view," he sighed. I nodded. "Yeah, the city looks soft from up here." He stepped closer. "You look different." I glanced at him. "It's the dress. Jasmine made me wear it." He nodded slightly. "I know. I told her she should wear it tonight. She said she wanted to give it one last adventure." I laughed, but it sounded off in my throat. "So I'm the adventure?" He didn't answer right away, just let the silence stretch. "I didn't expect to see you here," I said. "You're her best friend," he replied. "Why wouldn't you be?" I shrugged. "I usually find excuses to skip these kinds of things." "Then I'm lucky you didn't." That time, I didn't. "Look away." He held my gaze for a beat longer than he should have, and that's when I knew. This wasn't innocent. When I got home that night, I peeled the dress off like it burned. I didn't sleep. I kept seeing his face. That look, the spark behind it. I told myself I was imagining it. That men like Ethan flirt without meaning anything, that he was just being charming. But I couldn't stop replaying the way he looked at me and the way, for just a second, I wanted him to do more than just look. 3 days passed. I told myself it meant nothing. A glance, a comment, a lingering silence on a balcony, all easy to explain away. But the truth had already burrowed itself beneath my skin, and I could feel it there, like a slow itch I couldn't ignore. I tried to move on. I buried myself in work, scrolled endlessly through social media, even considered texting a guy I used to see months ago just to distract myself. But none of it worked, because late at night, when the lights were off and the world was quiet, I thought about Ethan, his voice, his gaze, the way he said I looked different, the way he didn't look away. On the 4th night, he texted me, "Ethan." Still thinking about that dress, my breath caught in my throat. I stared at the message, unread, for nearly half an hour. I could have ignored it. I should have. But I did in single quotes, T.me. Don't text me like that seconds later, I reply. Ethan, then tell me to stop. And mean it. I didn't respond out the next day, Jasmine. Invited me to brunch. Just the two of us. We sat by the window of a cozy little cafe, her fingers curled around her coffee, her eyes bright as she talked about the wedding, the venue, the seating chart, the flowers. I nodded, smiled, made sounds of agreement, but I couldn't focus. Her face, her trust in me. It made my stomach twist. Guilt burned at the edges of every sentence. She had no idea that the man she was going to marry had spent part of his night texting me, teasing me, testing me. And worse, that I hadn't shut it down. That evening, I got another message. Ethan, art gallery opening Thursday. You'd like it. Come. I stared at the screen. Then at the mirror. Then at myself. And then on Thursday, I went. The gallery was quiet, bathed in soft gold light and whispers. Paintings lined the walls, abstract, moody, full of color and chaos. He was waiting near the back, in front of a large piece that looked like a storm frozen in time. When he saw me, he didn't smile. He just watched me walk toward him, and something in his expression made my heart skip. It wasn't just attraction. It was possession. He didn't ask why I came. I didn't offer a reason. You're late, he said. I shrugged. You expected me? I hoped. We stood there, silent, in front of the painting. The tension between us thickened with every breath. I could smell him, faint cologne, warm skin. His hand brushed against mine, the contact feather light. But deliberate. This isn't right, I whispered. I know. You're marrying her. I know. I turned to face him. Then why are you doing this? He looked at me, eyes dark. Because I think about you when I'm lying next to her. There it was, raw, unapologetic, dangerous. And I hated myself for how much it thrilled me. I shouldn't be here, I said, but you are. He took a step closer. Tell me. To stop, mean it, and I will. My throat was dry. My hands shaking. I didn't say a word. He leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't cautious. It was hungry, demanding, like he'd been waiting weeks for this moment to explode. I melted into it, helpless against the storm inside me. His hands gripped my waist. Mine tangled in his jacket. I felt like I was falling. But it wasn't fear. It was desire. Reckless, forbidden desire. We didn't stay long. Backseat of his car. Dark alley. Windows fogged. Breathing heavy. It wasn't about love. Not yet. It was about heat, tension, need. And guilt. Thick and annoying. Chasing every touch, every sigh, every unzipped inch of fabric. Afterward, he drove me home. Said nothing. I said nothing. Before I got out, he looked at me. You didn't tell me to stop? I didn't respond. Couldn't. That night, I cried in the shower. My skin felt like it didn't belong to me. I pictured Jasmine's face, her laugh, her trust. It clashed with the memory of Ethan's mouth on my neck, his hands on my hips, the way he said my name. Like it tasted better than hers, I told myself. It was a mistake. Just once thought it wouldn't happen again, but I already knew that was a lie. The morning after it happened, I stared at my reflection for a long time. The mirror didn't lie. My lips were slightly swollen. My neck faintly marked. I ran a finger over the spot where he had kissed me last and felt something sharp twist in my chest. Shame, excitement, regret, desire. They all came at once, loud and tangled, and I didn't know which one to trust. I told myself I had crossed a line and would never do it again. But deep down, I already knew better. Because there was a part of me, a dark, hidden part that didn't regret it at all. That part wanted to feel it again. Jasmine called me that afternoon. Her voice was warm, cheerful, full of wedding updates and brunch invitations. She asked if I was free Saturday to help her finalize the floral arrangements. Ethan will be there. she said lightly. But don't worry, I'll make sure. He behaves. He hasn't stopped talking about how good you looked at the gala. I froze. My heart skipped. I forced a laugh. She laughed too. I told him that dress always had a bit of magic. Yeah, I murmured. It does. Saturday came too fast. I told myself I'd act normal. Stay distant, that there'd be no looks, no lingering hands. That I could sit next to him and not feel anything. I was wrong. He opened the door when I arrived, his eyes scanning me too slowly. Hey, he said, casual on the surface, but his voice dipped just slightly when he said it. Hi, I replied. Jasmine rushed over, hugging me, oblivious. She pulled me into the living room where samples of roses, lilies, and white peonies were spread out across the table. Ethan stayed close, too close. Every time Jasmine turned away, I could feel his eyes on me. I could feel it in the way he passed me the scissors, how his fingers brushed mine. Innocent touches that weren't innocent at all. At one point, Jasmine got a call and left the room. Ethan stepped beside me, close enough for me to feel the heat from his body. I missed you, he said, barely above a whisper. You shouldn't say that, I replied, eyes fixed on the flowers. But it's true. I turned to him, heart racing. This isn't a game. I know. Then stop playing. He looked at me with that same intensity he always carried, like I was a puzzle he had almost solved but wanted to break open anyway. I'm not playing, Olivia. I stepped back before Jasmine returned. Later, as I helped her clean up, she smiled at me. You're the only person I trust to tell me the truth, she said. If I'm making a mistake with Ethan, you'd tell me, right? I looked at her, throat tight, fingers gripping the stem of a rose too hard. Of course, I said softly. I went home and cried, but crying didn't stop me from answering him when he texted later that night. Ethan, you left too early. Me. I had to. She was right there. Ethan, come to the hotel. Room 612. Just talk. I didn't agree. I didn't say no either. I told myself I'd just go to end it properly. That's not what happened. The room was quiet. Warm lighting. A faint scent of his cologne already on the pillows. He opened the door and just looked at me. I stepped inside. We didn't speak. He took my coat, tossed it aside gently, and just stood there, watching, waiting. I'm scared, I whispered. Of what? That I'll want more. He came closer, fingers brushing my cheek. Maybe I do too. He kissed me like it was the first time again. Slow, deliberate, worshipful. There was something different about this time. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't lust in a backseat or stolen in shadows. It was intimate, intentional, almost romantic. He undressed me like I was fragile. And when he held me, he didn't just touch, he memorized, and I let him dot every kiss, every breath, every light at myself. When it was over, I lay beside him and stared at the ceiling. I think about her, I said. He didn't answer. She loves you. She doesn't deserve this. I know. I turned to him. Then why aren't you stopping? He looked at me like he didn't know the answer either, because when I'm with you, everything else disappears. And I hated him for saying that, because it made me feel seen, needed, chosen. It made me feel like I mattered more than her. And I hated myself for how much I wanted to believe it. We met again. And again, hotel rooms, private calls, quick kisses in parking garages. Every time I promised myself it was the last. Every time I broke that promise, the danger of it became addictive. The secrecy, the thrill, but the guilt never went away. And I knew eventually the truth would catch up to both of us, but I also knew I wasn't ready to let him go. Not yet. Not when he looked at me like that. Not when he said my name like a prayer. Asterisk, it happened faster than I thought it would. For weeks, I lived two lives dot by day. I was the loyal best friend, helping Jasmine plan her wedding, laughing over coffee, standing beside her in bridal boutiques, and pretending the guilt in my stomach was just anxiety dot by night. I was Ethan's secret, his obsession, his escape, but secrets don't stay hidden forever. I remember the exact moment everything shifted. Jasmine had invited me over on a Tuesday. She was testing out makeup styles for her bridal look. The apartment smelled like coconut scented, setting spray and vanilla candles. Her phone buzzed with nonstop texts from her florist, her mother, her future mother dash and dash law dot. Ethan wasn't home dot, or so I thought. I sat on the edge of her bed, watching her swipe on highlighter, her reflection glowing in the mirror. I think I'm gonna go with the soft glam, she said, examining herself. What do you think? I nodded. You look beautiful. She smiled, then turned away to answer another message. That's when I noticed it. A photo frame on the nightstand, tilted face down dot. It hadn't been like that before. Curious. I leaned slightly and lifted it dot. It was a picture of Jasmine and Ethan on the beach, wrapped in a blanket, smiling into each other's eyes. I put it back down gently, but something inside me twisted. Guilt pulsed so hard behind my ribs, I thought I might cry. I excused myself and went to the kitchen, pretending I needed water. My hands trembled as I opened the fridge, trying to calm my breathing. That's when I heard the door open behind me. Turn dot Ethan dot. He stood in the doorway, silent, no smile. Just staring at me dot. I froze. Jasmine was still in the bedroom, humming as she played with her lashes. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him slowly. What are you doing here? I whispered. I live here, he replied. You weren't supposed to be home. He looked at me like I was ridiculous. Neither were you. I'm helping her. He stepped closer. You're lying to her. My voice dropped lower. So are you? He didn't respond. Just stared at me for a long moment. Then he leaned in, too close, and said softly, I dreamt about you last night. I stepped back. Stop. You want me to? No, I said, though it came out thin, weak. I can't stop thinking about you, he murmured, even when she's lying next to me. I backed into the counter. If you don't walk away, right now. But he didn't. He brushed his hand over mine, 1 second too long, and that's when it happened. Jasmine walked in. She stopped mid-step, holding her phone, her brows furrowed. What's going on? We jumped apart like teenagers caught sneaking out. Nothing. I blurted out too fast. Ethan was calmer, just talking. Jasmine tilted her head. Right. The silence after that stretched too long, too tense. She didn't say anything. Else just turned and walked back into the bedroom. I left 5 minutes later, heart pounding, shame crawling under my skin. 2 days passed without a word from either of them. Then the text came. Jasmine, we need to talk. Come over, alone, I sat. Frozen for a minute, stopped. My legs were numb when I stood. When I arrived, she didn't say hello. Didn't smile. Just walked over to the dining table where her phone lay face up, unlocked, screen glowing. Someone sent me this, she said. I stepped forward. And my heart stopped. It was a photo. Blurry, low quality, but unmistakable. Me and Ethan in the hotel lobby. Close. Too close. My hand on his chest. His mouth against my neck. My breath caught. I couldn't speak. Jasmine didn't look at me. She stared at the photo, lips pressed into a tight line. Who took it? I finally whispered. I don't know. Maybe one of his coworkers. Maybe a stranger. Maybe someone who saw you sneaking out of a back door like a coward. I looked away. She sat down slowly, as if her body weighed more than she could carry. Why? She asked. I didn't mean for it to happen. She laughed, bitter and sharp. You didn't mean to sleep with my fiance. I didn't plan it, but you let it happen. I swallowed hard. I was going to tell you. When? After the honeymoon? No, after the vows. No, Jasmine, she finally looked up, her eyes filled with something worse than rage, disappointment. You were my best friend, she said softly. I told you everything. I trusted you with the most important part of my life. Tears burned in my eyes. I'm sorry. No, you're not, she snapped. You're sorry you got caught. She stood, walked past me to the door, and opened it wide. Get out. I hesitated. She didn't look back. I said, get out. So I did. Outside, the air felt too cold for spring. I walked with no direction, no destination. Just pain, thick and choking. A heaviness pressing down on every step. I lost her. Not just a friend. A sister, a piece of my past, my memories, my safety net. And the worst part, I deserved it. Ethan disappeared. For days, there was nothing. No messages. No calls. No quiet knocks on my door in the middle of the night. He vanished like a ghost, and for a while, I let myself believe that maybe it was over, that he was gone for good. And this was the punishment I deserved, but the silence didn't feel like closure. It felt like abandonment. I tried to pretend I was okay. I filled my days with meaningless tasks, grocery shopping, reorganizing my closet, wiping down counters that were already clean. Anything to keep my hands moving, to distract my mind from the echo of Jasmine's voice telling me to get out. From the image of her eyes, wide broken, yet somehow still sharp with judgment. Nights were worse. That was when the guilt grew teeth. It chewed at me in the dark, whispering things I didn't want to hear, reminding me of everything I'd lost. Jasmine's laugh, her trust, her belief in me, and underneath all that, the thing that shamed me most, I missed him. I missed Ethan, even though I hated what we did, even though he had betrayed her as much as I had, even though he vanished the moment it got hard. Missed the way he looked at me like I was the center of something important, like I mattered. Like he wanted me in ways I never let myself be wanted before. It made me feel alive, reckless, dangerous, and now, without it, everything felt numb. I wanted to hate him, but I missed him more. A week passed, then two. And then, just when I'd convinced myself he was gone forever, he came back. It was late. I was sitting on the couch, TV on but muted, a half-finished glass of wine in my hand. I wasn't even looking at the screen, just sitting there, blank and heavy. That's when I heard the knock. Three soft taps. I froze. Something inside me already knew. Opened the door slowly. Ethan stood there, hair damp from the rain, jaw tight, eyes tired. He looked different, worn, older, as if the last 2 weeks had aged him. Hi, he said quietly. I didn't move. Didn't speak. He lowered his eyes. Can I come in? I should slam this door in your face, I said. I deserve it. I hesitated. Then stepped aside. He walked in like a stranger. No smirk, no charm, just exhaustion. He didn't sit. He stood in the middle of the room, dripping onto the hardwood floor. I didn't know how to face you, he said finally. I crossed my arms. So you didn't? I had to fix things with her first. I scoffed. You mean lie to her again? He flinched. She didn't want to hear it. She told me to leave. Good. She deserves better. So do you, he said, eyes meeting mine. I looked away. You hurt both of us, Ethan. I know. She found a photo. Someone sent it to her. You was at the hotel. I figured. Do you even care what you did to her? His voice cracked. I do, God, I do. Then why are you here? Because I can't stop thinking about you. I turned from him. You think that makes it better? No, it just makes it real. There was silence. Long and heavy. He stepped forward. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. Not from her, not from you. But I've tried to forget you and I can't. I've tried to hate myself for what happened. But the truth is, part of me doesn't regret it. I clenched my fist. He kept going. I regret hurting her. But I don't regret what we had. Because when I was with you, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not just lust. Not just thrill. Something real. I turned to face him. Then why didn't you stay? Why did you leave me to fall apart alone? Because I was scared, he said. And I thought disappearing would make it easier for everyone. But it didn't. It just made me realize what I really wanted. And what's that? You. The word hung in the air like smoke. Dangerous. Tempting. Slowly. Curling into every corner of the room. I should have told him to leave. I should have screamed at him. Slapped him. Sent him back into the rain. But instead, I walked up to him. He looked at me, eyes pleading, breath shallow, and whispered, I've missed you every second since I walked away. I could smell the rain on his skin. The cologne I remembered. The heat of him. I hate that I want this, I whispered. He stepped closer. Then don't say anything. And when he kissed me, it was nothing like before. It wasn't stolen. It wasn't rushed. It was slow, deep, full of apology and hunger. An ache. His hands held my face like I might vanish if he let go. My body melted into his like it had been waiting weeks for this exact moment, and maybe it had. We didn't go to the bedroom. We stayed right there, in the living room, kissing like we needed it to survive, like it wasn't wrong, like it was the only thing that made sense in a world where everything else had collapsed. That night, he stayed. He slept beside me, not tangled in passion, but wrapped in silence. His hand on my hip, my head on his chest. I didn't ask what would happen next. I didn't ask about Jasmine. I just let the moment exist, knowing it couldn't last. But needing it anyway. Asterisk the morning after. The world felt too quiet. Sunlight poured through the curtains in pale gold streaks, painting lines across his back as he lay beside me. His breathing was soft, steady. His arm draped across my waist, warm and grounding. For a moment, just a moment, I let myself pretend that this was normal, that we were just two people in love, that there hadn't been betrayal, destruction, or loss, but that Jasmine wasn't out there somewhere, carrying the scars we'd given her, but pretending only lasts so long. When he stirred and opened his eyes, reality returned with him. Morning, he whispered, his voice rough from sleep. Morning, I replied quietly. Neither of us moved. I stared at the ceiling, wondering how long we could stay in this bubble before the real world came knocking. I'm not going back to her, he said suddenly. I turned my head. You sure about that? He nodded. She told me before I left, if I crossed the line again, there'd be no forgiveness. And I already crossed it. She already knew, I said softly. Long before the photo, she saw it, felt it. He sat up slowly, rubbing the back of his neck. I never meant to hurt her. But you did, I know. He turned to look at me, his face open, vulnerable. I want to start over. With you. I didn't answer right away, because wanting something and being ready for it are not the same thing. The weeks that followed felt like borrowed time. Ethan moved into a small apartment across the city. We didn't tell anyone, not yet. I wasn't ready to be seen, to be judged, to become the woman who stole someone else's future. Even though it wasn't that simple. Even though it was never that black and white. We started over in small ways. Cooking together, reading in bed, watching old movies in silence, legs tangled beneath the blankets. He brought me flowers from the shop near his building. Always different, always a surprise. Sometimes I woke up to his hand brushing hair from my face, a look in his eyes that said more than any apology ever could. I let myself believe. Maybe we could build something from the ashes. Maybe love wasn't meant to be perfect. Maybe love was choosing someone even when it was messy, even when it came with history and consequence. But even as I tried to believe that, the guilt never fully left Dot. It showed up in Jasmine's silence, in the way her contact disappeared from my phone, in the mutual friends who stopped inviting me to things, in the glances from people who once smiled, now hesitant, unsure. And then came the message. Dot. It was a random Thursday. I was folding laundry, humming to myself, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Nice to see you too, playing house. Hope it lasts longer than her engagement did. Dot. My heart dropped. I stared at the screen, blood turning cold. A minute later, another one. Unknown number. She might have forgiven him. But don't count on her forgetting you. I felt dizzy. I sat down, the phone trembling in my hand. Was it Jasmine? Someone she knew? Someone who had seen us, who knew our secret before it was public? I didn't respond. I didn't have to, because the next day, a letter came. No return address. Inside was a single photo, the same one Jasmine had shown me. Me and Ethan, the hotel. My hand on his chest, on the back, scrawled in handwriting that didn't look like hers, were 5 words: "You won't get away clean." I told Ethan that night. He read the messages, studied the photo, and stayed silent. Then finally he said, "It's her, or someone close to her." "She knows we're still together," I said. "She was always going to find out." "But she's angry," I whispered. "This isn't just pain anymore. This is something else." He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Do you want me to talk to her?" "No," I said quickly. "It'll only make it worse." We sat in silence, and I realized something chilling. Even though Jasmine was no longer physically in our lives, her presence was everywhere. In the shadows, in the silence, in the space between our sentences. We were haunted, not by what we'd done, but by who we did it to. That night, I lay awake beside Ethan, staring at the ceiling, heart racing. What if this never ended? What if she never let go? What if, no matter how much we tried to move on, she'd always be right behind us, angry, hurt, and waiting to pull us apart? And worse, what if she was right to? It happened on a Monday. The kind of Monday that felt too normal. Birds chirping, coffee brewing, Ethan kissing my cheek before heading out the door. We had spent the weekend talking about taking a trip together, somewhere quiet, somewhere far from here, maybe Tuscany, he said, or Lisbon. I had smiled and nodded, imagining ourselves under soft skies, walking narrow streets where no one knew our names. A clean slate. But clean slates don't exist for people like us. Not. When the past has a face and a voice and a name. Jasmine. I wasn't expecting her. Not when I opened the door to get the mail and saw her standing there, calm, composed, her black trench coat buttoned tight, lips painted the exact shade of red I used to borrow from her. She didn't smile. Didn't speak, just looked at me. I forgot how beautiful she was when she wasn't crying. "Hi," she said after a long pause, her voice light but heavy with everything left unsaid. I stepped aside without thinking. She walked in like she belonged there, and for a brief second I remembered she used to. This was her story too, her future, her fiancé, her friend. I closed the door slowly. "You look good," I said, immediately regretting it. She turned to face me. "So do you. Love makes you glow, doesn't it?" I swallowed. "What do you want?" "I just wanted to see it for myself," she said, scanning the apartment. "To see if what you threw everything away for was worth it." I stood still, heart pounding. "Jasmine, I'm not here to fight," she interrupted. "I don't scream anymore. I don't cry in bathrooms. I don't beg people to stay. Those days are over." I nodded slowly. "Okay." She walked toward the kitchen, trailing her fingers lightly along the counter. I used to picture my life here with him. Weekend pancakes, morning routines, toothbrushes side by side. I stayed silent. She turned, leaning against the counter. And now it's yours. Not exactly, I said, voice low. She tilted her head. No, you live here. He loves you, doesn't he? I think so. You think so, she repeated, as if tasting the words. A long silence settled between us. Then she pulled something from her coat pocket and placed it on the table. Silver USB stick. My eyes narrowed. What is that? Something you should watch. Alone. Why? Because you think you know him, but you don't. My mouth went dry. You're trying to scare me. I don't have to, she said calmly. The truth will do that. On its own. I stared at the USB. What's on it? She smiled faintly. Memories. Things you weren't supposed to see. She turned to leave Dot at the door. She paused. I forgave you, she said softly. But I never stopped watching. Then she was gone. I sat on the couch for a long time, just staring at the flash. Drive. Ethan came home 2 hours later. He walked in smiling, kissed my temple, dropped his keys in the bowl by the door. I got us dinner, he said. Ty, your favorite. I didn't answer. He noticed. What's wrong? She came by, I said. He froze. Jasmine? I nodded. His eyes darkened. What did she say? She left this, I said, holding up the USB. His expression barely shifted, but something flickered in his jaw. Tension. Calculation. She's trying to mess with your head, he said quickly. She wants to destroy us. Is there something on here I shouldn't see? I asked. No. Then let's watch it. He hesitated. And that told me everything I needed to know. I'll watch it alone, I said, standing. Olivia, I think you should leave for tonight. He looked at me, hurt flashing across his face. You're going to believe her over me? I don't believe anyone right now. For a second, he looked like he might fight. Then he nodded, picked up his keys again, and left without a word. Didn't watch the video that night. I sat on the floor, flash drive in hand, for over an hour, staring, wondering, what could she have? A recording? A message? Photos I hadn't seen? Eventually, I plugged it in. There was only one file, the things he said when you weren't around. My hands shook as I opened it, and I listened. What I heard wasn't shocking at first. Just audio. A phone call, it seemed. His voice, casual, calm, laughing. But the more I listened, the more the cracks began to show. He talked about me. Not with affection, but strategy. She thinks I'm serious, he said at one point, his tone amused. I give it another month, Max. A pause, then laughter, from another voice. Male. Someone I didn't recognize. You really think she'd break first? The man asked. Of course. She's addicted to the drama. That's what makes it fun. I stopped breathing. Another clip started, Ethan again. This time colder. She was never supposed to find out. But hey, Jasmine always needed a wake-up call. Now she knows I'm not her puppy anymore. Then, and Olivia, she's just the detour. A messy one, but she served her purpose. The audio clicked off. I sat in silence, nausea twisted in my stomach. I didn't cry, not yet. I just sat there. Numb. Heart split wide open. So Jasmine was right. I didn't know him, not at all. Didn't sleep. I sat on the floor until dawn. The USB still plugged into my laptop, the screen dark, the silence louder than anything I'd ever known. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard his voice again. She's just the detour, addicted to the drama. Serve her purpose. Those words repeated in my head like a cruel lullaby. I tried to make sense of it, tried to believe it had been taken out of context or manipulated or recorded before things got real. But deep down, I knew. He meant it. All of it. The man who whispered I was everything in the quiet hours of the night was the same man laughing about me behind my back. Jasmine had warned me. She had handed me the truth and walked away with grace. And I, blinded by need, by guilt, by desperation, refused to listen, but I was listening now, and I wasn't going to cry. Not this time. Ethan came back just after sunrise. Hadn't texted him, but he knew. He always knew when something had shifted. He napped once, then opened the door like he still belonged here. I was sitting on the couch, facing him, arms crossed. The air between us wasn't warm anymore. It was cold, controlled. He paused when he saw my face. "You watched it?" he said. Double quote, yes. He didn't speak. "Do you want to explain?" I asked. His jaw tightened. "It was recorded a long time ago. That's your defense?" It was before things got serious between us. I tilted my head. "So I was a game, but then I became something real? That's your story now?" He walked closer, hands raised like he was trying to calm a wild animal. "I said things I didn't mean. I was angry, confused. I didn't expect to fall for you. You said I was a detour. I didn't know you then," I stood, "that you still used me. I didn't know what I was doing." "Yes, you did," I snapped. "You always knew?" He stopped talking. I stared at him, disgust and heartbreak twisting together inside me. "You lied to both of us, over and over. You made me hate her. You let me think I was the one who ruined everything when all along you were already broken. I never wanted to hurt you," he said, "but you did." Silence. I turned my back on him and walked toward the window. Outside, the world looked ordinary. Birds chirped. A couple jogged by with a golden retriever. The normalcy made me want to scream. "Do you still love me?" he asked. I laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "You don't get to ask that anymore." He walked closer. "I do love you, Olivia. Maybe I didn't at first. Maybe I said stupid things. But I've changed. You haven't changed. You just got caught." "I'm trying. You're lying." He reached for my hand. I pulled away. "I want to fix this," he said. "There's nothing to fix." His voice rose slightly. "So, that's it. One mistake and I'm out? One mistake?" I turned, eyes burning. "You were cheating on both of us. Lying to both of us. Using me as a weapon against her and pretending it was love." His face hardened. "So what? Now you're taking her side again?" "I'm not taking anyone's side," I said. "I'm just done being played." He stared at me for a long time. Then, coldly, he said, "You won't find anyone who wants you the way I do." I smiled. "That's the problem." He left. This time, I didn't watch him go. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I sat down, picked up my phone, and did something I never thought I'd do. I texted Jasmine.me, "Thank you for the video. You were right. He never loved either of us. I'm sorry it took me so long to believe you." She didn't reply right away. An hour later, a single message came through. "Jasmine, I knew you'd get there eventually. That was all. No venom. No pity. No warmth. Just truth." Over the next few days, I began to change. It was subtle at first. Sleeping better, eating more. That something inside me had shifted. I wasn't trying to be forgiven. I wasn't trying to fix what was broken. I wasn't even trying to punish him. I was letting go of him, of her, of the girl I used to be, the one who needed to be chosen to feel worthy. I deleted every text, every photo, every trace. I packed the red dress into a box and took it to a donation center. And then, for the first time in months, I breathed. But closure is never simple, because a week later, I found out I was late. 2 weeks, then 3. I bought the test. Told myself it was just stress, hormones, grief, but I already knew. I stared at the little screen in my hand, watching as 2 pink lines formed. Faint. But undeniable. Pregnant. The air left my lungs. The room spun. I sat on the floor, knees pulled to my chest, and whispered the only thing that came to mind. "Oh God." I sat on the bathroom floor for what felt like hours. The pregnancy test lay beside me, still flashing its verdict in quiet certainty. Pregnant. Two pink lines. A life forming. A future splitting in two. I had no plan. No script. No idea what I was supposed to feel. My stomach felt hollow, like I'd been punched and the air hadn't returned. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part just wanted to sleep until it all disappeared. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I wasn't supposed to be here, alone, shaking, trying to figure out if the father of this child was a man I even knew anymore. A man who once made me feel like fire and left me in the ashes. For the next 2 days, I said nothing to anyone. I went through the motions, work, home, silence. I avoided mirrors. I avoided thoughts. I avoided Ethan's name in my phone. Like it was poison, but avoiding didn't stop the clock. And eventually, I knew I had to tell him, whether the first wanted him involved or not. This wasn't just about me anymore. I called him. He answered on the first ring. "Olivia," he said. His voice was soft, hesitant. "I need to see you." He paused. "Where?" "Public. No games." We met at a cafe across town, quiet and empty. He was already sitting when I arrived, coffee untouched in front of him. He stood when he saw me, but I didn't hug him. I sat across from him and placed a folded napkin on the table between us. He frowned. "What's this?" "Read it." He unfolded it slowly. His eyes moved across the words I had scrawled just hours earlier. "I'm pregnant." He stared at it for a long time, expression unreadable. Finally, he looked up. "Is it mine?" I flinched. "Yes." "Are you sure?" "I haven't been with anyone else, Ethan." He nodded. Still no reaction. No joy, no panic. "Just blank, I see," he said quietly. "That's it?" He shrugged slightly. "I don't know what you want me to say." "How about anything human?" He leaned back, sighing. "I didn't come here to fight. I didn't come here for silence." A long pause stretched between us. Then he said, "Do you want to keep it?" I blinked. "Excuse me?" He folded the napkin again, neatly. "You're not obligated to do anything. I'm not here to force your hand, but if you do, I'll help." "That's not why I told you." "Then why?" "Because I thought you had a right to know." He nodded again, always nodding. Always quiet, always keeping himself wrapped in control like armor. I stood. "I don't need you to be a hero, Ethan, and I don't need your money. What I needed was to know who you really were. And now I do." I turned and walked out before he could answer, and as I stepped outside, I felt something shift. I didn't feel weak anymore. I felt clear. 2 days later, Jasmine called me. Not texted. Called. I stared at her name on my screen. Breath caught. Then I answered. Her voice was calm. "You're pregnant." I didn't ask how she knew. I didn't want to believe it, she said, but I heard. I sat down. I didn't expect this call. "I'm not calling to fight," she said. "Then why?" "Because I need to say something. And I want you to listen." I didn't interrupt. I've been angry. Furious, actually, for a long time. At you, at him, at myself for not seeing it sooner. But lately, I've realized something. "What?" "You were never the enemy," she said. "He was." I swallowed hard. I thought I lost everything when I lost him. But really, I lost everything when I lost myself trying to keep him. I felt tears prick my eyes, unexpected and sharp. "I don't forgive what you did," she added. "But I understand it." I didn't know what to say. "And this baby," she said. "I don't know what you're going to do. But I want you to know something." "What?" "You are not alone." Silence. Then I whispered, "Why are you being kind to me?" "Because someone has to be," she said. "And because if I had found out I was pregnant in your place, I would have wanted someone to sit with me and say, 'You will survive this.' A long breath passed between us. Then, quietly, I asked, "Would you meet me?" She hesitated, then said, "Yes." We met in a park. No makeup, no performance. Just two women sitting on a bench as the sun set behind the trees. She looked at me with sad eyes, not angry. Just sad. "I don't know what I'm doing," I confess. "You don't have to," she said. "You'll figure it out." I looked at her. "You hate him now, don't you?" She nodded, with everything in me. "But I don't hate you anymore." "Why not?" "Because you're still here, and he's not." Asterisk, I hadn't seen Ethan since I told him I was pregnant. After the cafe, he vanished. No texts, no calls, no knocking on my door in the middle of the night like before. It should have felt like relief, but it didn't. It felt like something was lurking beneath the silence. Something unfinished. Then, 2 weeks later, he appeared again. At my apartment door, unannounced, holding a paper bag filled with groceries and a soft, practiced smile on his lips. "I thought you might need help," he said. I didn't move. He shifted his weight. "I bought ginger tea, crackers, vitamins. You've always hated the taste of the ones they give you at the clinic, remember?" I didn't answer. "I can leave it here if you'd rather not see me," he added. "But I really like to come in just to talk." For a moment, I considered closing the door in his face, but instead, I stepped back, not because I wanted him here, but because I needed to see for myself who he was now. He walked in like nothing had ever happened, like he hadn't gutted me with his voice, his games, his betrayal. He placed the bag gently on the counter, then turned to face me. "You look stronger," he said. "I am." He nodded slowly. "I want to do better this time." "You already said that," I replied. "I mean it now." I folded my arms. "And what exactly does doing better look like?" He took a step toward me. "Being there, supporting you, taking care of the baby, us." "There is no us, Ethan." "I know it doesn't feel that way now. It never was that way," I snapped. "It was lies and adrenaline and manipulation." "You don't get to rewrite it." He stayed quiet. I continued. "You used me. You used Jasmine. You said things you can't unsay, and now you think ginger tea makes it better?" "I'm trying," he said again, voice low. "I don't care," I said. "You don't get credit for showing up after setting the house on fire." He looked down, then back up. "I miss you." "I miss who I thought you were," I whispered, "and he doesn't exist." He stayed for 15 minutes, tried to talk about the future, about being involved, about co-parenting, about how he could learn, improve, show up. I let him talk, and when he finally left, I felt nothing. Not love, not hope, just clarity. He was still playing chess. He just didn't realize. I had stepped away from the board. I called Jasmine that night. "I saw him," I said. "I figured," she replied. "He's not subtle when he's scared. He wants in." "Of course he does." I hesitated. "What do I do?" She paused, then said, "You set the rules." "I don't trust myself to do that." "Then let me help." We met the next day in a quiet diner with dusty booths and coffee that tasted like smoked. Jasmine brought a folder. Inside, names of lawyers, clinics, counselors, options, support networks, prenatal specialists. "I've had this ready for weeks," she said, "in case you needed it." "You thought I'd break?" "No," she said, meeting my eyes. "I thought you'd need backup." I smiled. "You always were the one with the plan." "I just never planned on losing you." My throat tightened. "I never planned on losing you either." She reached across the table and touched my hand. "I'm still mad," she said. "Some days I still dream about slapping you. I'd let you, but I'd rather see you win." Later that week, Ethan texted again. "Ethan, can we meet one more time?" "Please," I agreed. At a public park in daylight, with nothing between us but air and old pain. He arrived with flowers. I didn't take them. He sat beside me on the bench. Are you going to keep it? He asked, nodding toward my stomach. Yes, he nodded slowly. Okay, you don't have to be involved, I said. I want to be. Why? Because I care. No, I said, turning to him. You care about not looking like the villain. You care about controlling the story. But this time, you don't get to write it. His face twitched. You think I'm the bad guy? I know you are. You used me too. I believed you, I said. That's not the same thing. He leaned forward. So what now? You just cut me out? No, I said. I'll let you in, but on my terms. You want to be a father, be one. But you don't get to be anything else to me. Not a partner, not a lover, not even a friend. He looked away, jaw clenched. And if you so much as try to play games again, I added, I'll destroy whatever image you're clinging to. He nodded once. Understood. I stood up, and just before walking away, I turned back and said, one more thing. He looked up. I'm not scared of you anymore. Pregnancy changes you, not just your body, though that part comes fast. The nausea, the fatigue, the sudden scent aversions, the hormones turning your thoughts into kaleidoscopes. But it's more than that, It changes how you move through the world. You see things through a different lens. You start asking, who will protect this life? Who will ruin it? Who will I become when it's no longer just about me? And I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I would not raise this child in fear. Not of Ethan, not of shame, not of regret. So I started over. Little things. At first, I deleted every old voicemail from him. Blocked his number, not out of pettiness, but power. I found a new doctor, one outside the city, where no one knew me as the woman who stole someone else's fiance. I enrolled in prenatal classes under a different last name. I started journaling again, something I hadn't done since college. Pages filled not with pain, but with promises to the person growing inside me. I will be brave for you. I will not let my past shape your future. You will never question if you were wanted, and slowly, I began to believe it. Jasmine stayed close, not in an overbearing way, but in the way only someone who knows what grief tastes like can. She showed up on Thursdays with soup and sarcasm. She sent me playlists called Songs You Can Cry To, but also Clean the Kitchen. She helped me look at baby cribs without flinching, and one afternoon, as we folded baby clothes in my living room, she said something I didn't expect. I knew he was cheating. Even before you, I looked up from a tiny onesie. What? She kept folding. There were others, brief ones. Ones I caught through receipts, texts, cold shoulders, but I thought I could fix it. I thought if I stayed loyal long enough, he'd settle down. You never told me, she shrugged. You were the last one I expected. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know that now. A pause. Then she added, but I still wonder why it had to be you. I swallowed hard. Because he knew I'd fall. And she nodded, because that was the truth. Ethan didn't choose me because I was better. He chose me because I was easy to mold, easy to isolate, easy to burn, but not anymore. It wasn't until my 5th month that Ethan reappeared, not physically, but in headlines, a photo, a press release, a statement from his law firm confirming his temporary leave due to personal circumstances, gossip blogs speculating about the real reason, and then an anonymous source dropping my name. The photo they used was old. Me in the red dress at the gala, eyes wide, caught mid-laugh. The caption was brutal. Mistress to mother, Ethan Cross's ex-fiancee's best friend is pregnant. I stared at it on my phone, frozen. Jasmine saw it the same morning. She didn't call me. She showed up. She walked in holding a carton of ice cream and said, "Okay, let's rage." I laughed so hard I cried. That I cried for real. Not because I was ashamed, but because I was tired of carrying it alone. That night, I received a handwritten letter. No. Envelope. Just slipped under my apartment door. The handwriting was unmistakable. Olivia, I'm sorry it came out this way. That wasn't me. I would never humiliate you like that. But now that it's out, we don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to run. You don't have to do this alone. Let me come back. Let me show the world that we can make this work. Can still be a family. Ethan and I stared at the page. Not angry, not afraid. Just done. The next day, I wrote my own letter, short, sharp. Final. Ethan, there is no we. There is only a child who will know love, peace, and strength, none of which you can provide. I don't need you. And more importantly, I don't want you. Your chapter's over. Olivia, I left it with the building's front desk and walked out into the sun with Jasmine beside me, sunglasses on, bum showing. Head high. We weren't victims anymore. We were authors, and the story was finally ours to write. Asterisk. Spring came slowly that year. It arrived like forgiveness. Not sudden, not loud, but quiet. Patient, a little at a time. Mornings became lighter. Trees began to bud, and my world, which had once been tangled in shadows, started to stretch open again. By the time I reached my 7th month, the air smelled like beginnings. I'd moved into a new apartment, smaller, simpler, quieter. No more shared closets. No more memories pressed into the floorboards. Just a place for me and the life inside me to begin again. People stared sometimes. Whispers followed me through grocery store aisles and doctors' offices, but I didn't shrink anymore. I had outlived the worst part of the story, and I'd learned something beautiful. Survival is a kind of grace. Jasmine came over often, sometimes to help, sometimes to sit in silence with me. One afternoon, she brought over a pale yellow baby blanket, hand-stitched. I ran my fingers across the threads and felt a lump form in my throat. You made this? She nodded, a little shy. I figured the baby deserved one soft thing from me. I wanted to cry. Instead, I hugged her, really hugged her, for the first time in months. We stayed like that for a while, because some wounds don't close with apologies, they close with presence. Ethan tried to contact me again. A letter this time, longer, more emotional, full of what-ifs and imagined futures. He said he'd hired lawyers, said he wanted joint custody, said he'd changed, that he was in therapy, that he had done the work, that he understood everything now. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because for the first time since the night he kissed me on a balcony, Ethan no longer held any power in my story. He had become a name I'd say carefully, if ever, to my child. A shadow in a past that no longer defined me, and I had become someone I never imagined I could be. The baby came early, 3 weeks ahead of schedule. On a stormy night in late May, the sky split open with thunder as I braved through pain I didn't think I was strong enough to survive, but I did. And when they placed her on my chest, wrinkled, wailing, perfect, I felt something break and bloom inside me at the same time. I cried harder than I ever had, not from fear, not from regret, but from relief. I had made it. She was here. I named her Laura, not after anyone, just something beautiful, something celestial, something untouched by everything that came before. I never told Alara the full story, not when she was young, not when she asked why there weren't any pictures of her father on the walls. I told her what she needed to know, that she was wanted, that she was born from a storm but raised in sunlight, and that sometimes people who hurt us are only chapters, not the whole. But that Jasmine stayed in our lives. She became the aunt who showed up with glitter markers and wild stories and long hugs. The one who held Alara at her first birthday and whispered, "You are more than your blood." And as the years passed, the whispers faded, People moved on. The scandal became history. And we somehow became peace. It wasn't a fairy tale. There was no prince. No magical forgiveness. No sudden epiphany that made it all okay. But there was healing. There was rebuilding. There was a woman who learned how to live with her choices and how to grow beyond them. And there was a little girl with fire in her eyes, laughter in her lungs, and no idea how many storms her mother had walked through to give her clear skies. Now, sometimes, I sit by the window at night, Alara asleep in her room, and think about the girl I used to be, the one who wore a red dress, the one who wanted so badly to be seen. She let herself be destroyed. I don't hate her anymore. She was lost, but she was trying. She broke things, but she learned how to rebuild. And in her worst moment, she found her beginning. Because from betrayal came clarity, from loss came strength, from silence came a voice, and from him, the man who lit the fire and walked away, came the only good thing he ever gave me, Alara. I closed the window. Light off, heartful. Tomorrow will come, and I'll meet it, not with fear, but with the quiet, steady truth that carried me here. I am not what was done to me. Am what I chose to become after asterisk asterisk, and if you're still listening, thank you. This wasn't just a story about cheating. It was a story about consequences and choices, about how love can blind us and how pain can wake us up. Olivia made mistakes. She lost things she thought she'd never recover, but in the end, she didn't break. She changed. And sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is walk away and begin again. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you are not your past. You are who you decide to become after. Until next time, stay strong, stay soft, and never settle for anything less than real.